Moving on from gas prices, sir?
I don't have to. No. In fact, I have one more thing. Go ahead.
This was sent to us by Jordy.
Yeah.
And the tagline is, wondering why gas is up $2 since Biden took office? Well, just watch this. It's just short of a minute, and it's all of the campaign promises that were made by your president. You ready for this?
My president.
Yep.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated. No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. I guarantee we're going to end fossil fuel.
What about, say, stopping fracking and stopping new pipeline infrastructure? And
No new fracking.
We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
I've argued against any more oil drilling or gas drilling on federal lands.
No one's going to build a coal-fired plant again, and we're going to get rid of the ones we have now.
Have a transition from the oil industry, yes.
Would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes.
There you go.
We've always asked ourselves this question. At what point will you stop buying gas based on its price per gallon? And the state of Washington is recalibrating the pumps in the anticipation of perhaps $10 a gallon. Who knows? The answer is, well, when that price arrives, you will stop going to work.
I was just going to say, whatever the price was today, I have to go to work, so I've got to drive.
But if it gets to the point where you can't go to work, then you can't feed your family. And if you can't feed your family, you become a ward of the state. You become a ward of the government. And it is criminal that Biden administration is treating us this way. It's criminal.
Yes.
It's going to undo the fabric of the country. Our freedoms are based on our ability to work where we choose. And to work where we choose, we need gasoline.
Do you guys know anybody that's made a career change because of costs?
No.
Because I do.
I don't.
And it happened within the last 6 months.
Well, and that person went from what to what?
Was a pretty successful downtowner, but then the family started to grow a little bit and said, I can't afford to keep doing this. So now it works for a company where he works regionally, near his home. And he said, it's because I can't afford this life anymore.
Joe, I'm catching up on the podcast and listening to the May 13th episode talking about the removal of drilling leases from the market by the Biden administration. I am a partner with a commercial capital firm based in South Louisiana, home of good food, hunting, fishing, and oil and gas business. This state's economy revolves around the oil and gas business and, to a lesser extent, the food business. We have the second largest oil refinery on the planet in Baton Rouge, and collectively more refineries between Baton Rouge and New Orleans than anywhere else in the world. It provides us an average of $73 billion to the state's economy each year, not to mention all the oil field service companies that rely on that industry. My firm helps these companies obtain financing to stay in business and grow. We have deployed over $100 million in the last 5 years, with the vast majority of that going to oil field service companies, the laborers, offshore oil field supply companies, welders, caterers, food suppliers, manufacturers, and drilling equipment vendors, transportation to and from the refineries and oil platforms, the machine shops, computer and engineering firms, and more. When we heard of the removal of these leases from the market, we were not surprised. This industry has been the battering ram of many political figures over the years. Hell, we've been through hurricanes that have had more of an effect on us than most politicians. However, this last dig by this administration is a tough one to swallow for many of us. While attending a local bankers conference yesterday, this topic of conversation was hedging against the imminent recession, higher labor costs, and supply chain issues. In short, the banks are not willing or able to lend to the service providers in any way, shape, or form, and there's no end in sight. On top of this, there was a recent announcement of the ESG policy. That's environment, social, and governance. A 500-page guide for the required ESG reporting that is now up for public comment prior to heading to regulatory statute. ESG is the environmental, social, and governance criteria that scores each publicly traded and/or regulated by the SEC company. As it is framed, ESG will become an input into the calculation of a firm's credit worthiness and hence its ability to secure or maintain financing. To date, the guidance is unclear on how these scores will be issued or what criteria is provided. Examples published seem to be subjective at best. What's worse, the scores are also given to the suppliers of the organization. While we don't know the threshold required to be a qualified supplier, it has many in the industry concerned. My personal opinion is this is a policy derived out of virtue signaling and now becoming weaponized. Lending institutions and purveyors of financial products are in a wait-and-see mood with very little optimism. While we opine on the leases and permits or the ESG scoring system, we are missing the point. The government should not be in the middle of free enterprise. Government's job is to remove obstacles for us to succeed, not tell us what enterprises should do.
Right.
Whenever the government has a solution, it usually has the opposite effect, always pushing back. Rob Powell. That's...
I was looking for hope to come at the end of that.
No.
Never arrived.
There is no hope.
Well, this administration needs to go. Never mind the midterms, never mind the 2 years down the road. They need to be evicted immediately.
But Kenny, as I said to Joe, I don't think we're going to be able to afford 2 more years.
Remember, well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Remember that day about a month ago where we had so much fun? We delved into conspiracy land where we had Obama as the acting president again?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
You don't want him back.
Are you sure?
Well, he would pursue ESG. He would pursue the demonization of fossil fuels so long as he can still get his jet to take him to his private estates in Hawaii and Martha's Vineyard.